Alright, hey guys. I was gonna do this little video for Mr. Whitefolk, but this is just gonna be, just like a generic thing of the process, and I'll do some stuff showing some other issues, just so I can put up on my YouTube channel, and then everyone kind of can benefit from it. So anyway, yeah. So this is Xnalara to MMD. If you don't know what that is, then really, what are you watching here? So yeah, we're gonna be using 3ds Max as a kind of conversion tool, kind of like a individual hub. Um, I know some people would argue maybe not the best choice, and to each their own. I use 3ds Max, so that's why I'm comfortable with it. But anyway, so yeah, I'll just be going over this thing, and I'll probably just showing the scripts that I wrote, and hopefully trying to show you guys kind of from a beginner's view of 3ds. Oh, I keep burping. From 3ds Max. So yeah, we'll just start that. So right now we're going to import a Xnalara model. We're going to be using the Max script that I wrote. So I'm just going to drag and drop that into the window, and it's going to execute the script. Right away we can import our mesh. So we can import that there. Import. Okay. Now there's some issues with this mesh right now, but I'll cover that after. We'll just streamline the process so we get a nice ABC to how to get it from here to there. So just going to expand the view here so we can look at it. Okay. So right away what we're going to do is we're going to, this might be more easy to visualize. We're going to press F4 for edge mode or F3 for wireframe mode. Okay, so we're just going to turn on edge mode just to see the full figure here. Again, there's an issue here. We'll explain it later. So there's only one mesh in here because I imported it as a single mesh, and you should import it as a single mesh. So we have one mesh here, and what we can do is basically just chop off the skin modifier, and now there's no skin. So essentially, just to explain this, if we have skin on, that means it'll animate with the bones. So if I rotate a bone, the stuff animates with the bone. So the mesh is bound or binded to the skeleton. We cut that off, and now it won't work. Okay, so keep that in mind. The skin is going to allow you to animate your mesh. If you don't have any skin, which we don't anymore, you can't animate. But anyway, what we did is we cut it, so it's in the clipboard right now. If we close Max and start it again, we'll lose that clipboard information. So when you're doing this process, you have to be quick on what you do, because if 3ds Max crashes or something else happens between this time, you're going to have to redo it again. Okay, but that's okay. These edits should be pretty simple anyway. So right now the skin modifier is off. We've deleted it. I'm going to select only this model, okay, and it's going to highlight. And we're going to export this by going to export selected. If we go to export, it'll select everything. The bones, we don't want that. We just want to export the selected mesh, okay? Hit that. We're going to save. And I've tried doing this so many times. Okay, so I'm just going to go give it a name. 11111. All right. And you get this error here. It says output warnings. Basically, it's saying that your file name is past 8 characters, and it's too big. Okay. Now, that's not good. So PMD and the format that we exported to, which was 3DS, both have character limit. Now, there's no way around that. PMD just physically has a character limit. What we want to do is rename the names, or the texture names rather, so that they are under a certain amount of characters. Let's say 8. We'll bring it to 8 characters, and we'll make it flesh. Now we can do that manually, okay, but it may be easier just to do it in an automated process. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to now execute the MikuMiku dance Max script. Okay, we just drag that into there, and with the single mesh selected, we can click on shorten texture names. Now this window will pop up. You have to select, really you could select anything, but we're going to select the mesh, and up here it says textures need to be in the same folder. So typically Xnalara model will include the textures in the same directory as the model. Okay, but you have to have the textures in the same directory as the model. And when we select the model again from here, it's basically just going to collect the textures and export them, or just resave them rather, into a new folder called renamed, and they will be renamed in an 8-character space. Okay, so we fall under that you know, that specification that we need, the 8 characters. So yeah, so that's how we do it. The mesh has been automatically renamed and assigned to these textures. So right now, this mesh no longer belongs to these source textures. They only belong to these textures in this new folder. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now, what we're going to want to do is select only this mesh, go to File, and then go to Export Selected. And I think it was this one. So we're just going to save over top of that. And we're going to get the same issue. You can just ignore that. We've already remedied it. Basically, there's other textures in there that it's picking up, but we've already repaired the model. So what we can do now is we can actually just delete this mesh. And I just pressed the delete key with that mesh selected. So now what we can do is go back to File and then go to Import, and then you have to select 3ds as a file type, and then it'll pop up here, and we can now import that back in to 3ds Max. So now we have the mesh again. Okay, and right away what we can do is we can right click on, once it's selected, okay, we can go to the, you'll have this panel, they call it a panel. You can select your mesh, then click on this thing called the modify panel, okay, and this will show this thing, and now you can right click on here and paste your skin modifier back on. So now I can do a simple demonstration, grab the bone again, and wow, look at that. Your mesh now animates again. Wow, okay. Now, I'm going to save this project right now. I'm going to demonstrate some other things before I carry on. Now, let's say, for example, you were unable to paste. And paste was grayed out. You're like, oh crap, I can't do it. And you thought you were smart, and you're like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to add a new one. Cool, I'm good. No, you're not, because that information that was included with the skin is now gone. So if we animate, it won't work out, okay? And they think, okay, maybe if I just add the bones back in the list. So we can just, add the bones back in. And what will happen is 3ds Max will assign a default value to all the mesh and its bones. And it'll animate with the bones, yeah, sure, but we'll get all these, what they call skinning errors, where you get undesired deforming. Again, no good. So yeah, I can't stress how much this is important. You need to paste the original skin that you had back onto your model so that it'll work properly again. Otherwise, it will not work properly at all. Okay? So just keep that in mind. All right. Oops. When you unhide all, what's going to happen is it's going to unhide everything legit, like everything that was there and that was hidden before. What we can do is actually, I'll explain this now because it's not really that off topic. If you click on this thing called Layer Manager, you'll see these 3 created layers. Now, when we import from the Xnalara converter, what it does is it creates these layers. And this is from Xnalara. So we have essentially 3 things. We have the mesh itself, okay, which has been destroyed now because we've exported and then deleted and imported. So it'd be called default now. Okay, so we can hide that. That's the mesh, okay. We have the bones, but we have 2 layers of bones. The first layer is just called bones, and that is the main bone selection in Xnalara, okay. And then we have this thing called unused bones. And essentially what you can see here is they've got 2 skeletons here. You got the model skeleton here and another skeleton here. Now, this is just an issue with whoever compiled this model together. They must have merged in 2 models, and the old skeleton was left behind. And to kind of hide that issue, they just hid the bones. So they just, I'm just going to hide these. I was going to see them anyway. They hide them. Okay, so they hid them. That's probably what they did. But when we import and then we convert it, these bones will be visible to MikuMiku Dance, which is kind of unfortunate. Now, there's a thing we can do. We can actually we can convert these bones to a different type of bone, but I haven't really figured that part of the script out yet. I could add it later, but for now we're just gonna ignore this big bone issue, okay? But anyway, what I just want to is you can toggle on your layers through here. So if you don't want to see the bones, just toggle this off, and then you have your mesh again. Oops, I I moved it. So anyway, there's our mesh. It's got the skin reapplied to it, and we're pretty much good to go now. So I'm just going to bring up the. Oh, I already have it open. I can just go here to export, and we can just, give it a name. Apples. It'll take a second. All right, it'll say done when it's done. And now if we go back to that folder, you'll see that I got that PMD file. If I bring up the PMD editor, we can actually preview that exportation. Okay. So there we go. We got the model. Okay. I don't know much about the editor here, but anyway, we can see some of the issues that were apparent in the beginning. The model having a transparency issue and this ghost of a skeleton up here. Now I'll touch base on that later on. I'm just gonna go grab a bite. And then actually I'll just make a new video. But this is the baseline conversion, and then I'll get into, let's say, more technical stuff and workarounds after I go eat something. All right. Talk to you guys later. Right.